Chronic illness doesn't just try to take your health, it also tries to take your identity. How do I know this? Um, Chronic illness doesn't just try to take your health, it tries to take your identity. How do I know this? Not only have I seen this dozens and dozens of times working with trauma survivors, I also have seen this firsthand in my own life as a therapist who was recently diagnosed with a chronic autoimmune disorder. Chronic illness takes every single part of us, the best parts of us that we feel like, parts of us that we feel like we're invincible, the parts of us that feel like, that we like about ourselves, and it humbles us down to a place that we never thought was completely possible. Some of the things that I've had to take a look at in my own life is I've had to take a look at how reliable that I thought I was. I've noticed that before I would have given myself on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm a 0 to 100 in terms of percentage. I would have given myself a percentage of being about 90% reliable. Uh, After having chronic illness, I can honestly say, well, noticing, because I've had chronic illness for a while now, but to be finally diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, I would definitely say that my reliability has significantly gone down, or at least my awareness of it. I thought I was a 90 percenter, and now I would more consider myself a 70 percenter. With that comes a lot of self doubt, comes a lot of self criticism, and it also puts pressure on your partner relationships. I have heard firsthand from my husband in particular, just in terms of the times where he's felt overwhelmed, the times where I've noticed that he's been a little bit more stressed. And it's all been times where I've not been able to fill in parts that I usually was able to fill in. I just simply can't do it. So it comes to a place where it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm not a reliable person, or maybe I'm not a confident person, or maybe I'm not this, or maybe I'm not that. I think what it does for me, it's almost kind of like it reminds me of COVID. When COVID hit, everybody was like, whoa, you know what? We're not as in control as what we thought we were. To me, that's what having an autoimmune disorder does. Is it is a consistent reminder of just the truth. We're not as in control as what we thought we were. And that's an okay reminder. I know for myself, I've always, anytime I've had these seasons, I won't say always, anytime I've had these seasons of humility, it's never been fun, it's never been pleasant, but what I have seen is that it's made me a better human, it's made me more compassionate, it's made me more understanding, because it forces me to slow down and to just actually sit with some truth. So, was it true that I was as reliable as I thought I was earlier in life? Um, I can't say the answer to that. My belief, my honest belief is probably not. Just like COVID, we thought that we were so much more in control of ourselves, in control of the world than we actually are. A lot of times we don't want to sit with that. We don't want to sit with the difference between what is and where we actually are. When we experience that cognitive dissonance, it's just better. A lot of us like to just kind of dissociate from it, take some distance, move back from it, and we don't want to sit with those differences. And so one of the things that I think is important is any time that life gives us an opportunity to be able to sit with it, to be able to take a little bit more humility in, is for us to slow down, try to catch our breath. It is never fun. Anytime I've ever done it, it is never fun. It is not usually our choice, but these are things that help us to become better as human beings. One of the other things that I've noticed is in terms of that's just my own process and what I'm noticing this time around in terms of getting some huge slices of humble pie. As I've watched clients go through this, I've watched clients go through this place of like, what do you mean I have an autoimmune disorder? As they're grieving the loss of their life before. That process is hard. It is extremely humbling. Again, I've seen it firsthand as a therapist, but I've also seen it for my, as a patient. Um, I've seen folks in those situations. And one of the things that I've seen them all struggle with is going through all the stages of grief, the anger, the shock. Sometimes that comes with some denial, emotional outburst that eventually comes up. Sometimes noticing differences in their sleep habits and their eating habits, emotional outbursts, waves of grief. I've also seen people go through immense anger, whether it's at God or a minister or a doctor or their partner. All of these different relationships where anger starts showing up, angry with themselves, guilt. If there's one stage in the stages of grieving that I've seen every single client want to skip and want to avoid, myself included, is guilt. Like the woulda, coulda, shouldas. What could I have done? What should I have done? Going through the X, Y, and Z. I've shared with you in another video that my family has a lot of my family members have either diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do all the right things. So I make sure that I never have any of those things. I couldn't prevent this. I couldn't have prevented this. So some things we can prevent, some things we can't. And so when we're taking a look at that guilt is usually a sign of us trying to figure out what we can do in the here and now to miraculously be able to go in the past and try to fix something in the past so that we're not experiencing the pain that we're experiencing today. Eventually, the goal with guilt is to be able to take those hurts in the here and now and to apply those lessons moving forward. One of the reasons why I'm doing this YouTube thing is because I've had so many people tell me, Virginia, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story because you're in a position that not a lot of other people are in, where you can be able to speak your truth and you have a degree of power that puts you in a place of responsibility to be able to speak what other people cannot speak, to say what other people cannot say. And so I'm saying some of these things not because I'm proud, not because I've mastered anything. I'm saying some of these things because I know that a lot of other people are experiencing it and they're suffering with it and they're suffering in silence. And so I want to put some voice to some of these concerns because I know a lot of family members who have loved ones with autoimmune disorders. They're like, well, what do you mean you're canceling last minute for something? What do you mean you can't attend this meeting? You just must not like me. You just must, you just must, you just must, you just must. I am here to tell you, I've seen it on both sides in my own body, and I've also seen it experiencing with my clients that a lot of times we don't get a choice. We don't get a choice. It makes us look really unreliable. That is not our desire. And so the thing that I would highly encourage everybody to do, struggling with an autoimmune disorder or something that's just happening in your life and in your world that's making you feel like you can't even rely on who you are anymore. These things do change us. These things do mold us. And my hope is that these things make us a little bit better than what we were before, and hopefully a little bit more realistic in terms of who we were before. We're all broken. We're all limited. We all miss things. We all mess up. None of us are as reliable as we think we are. And my hope is that we can all try to have a little bit more grace, a little bit more compassion for everyone out there because we just need it. We need it. So for those out there who are struggling with an autoimmune disorder, I hear you. I get it. I understand how it affects your relationships. Um, for those of you who do not have an autoimmune disorder, who have a loved one who has an autoimmune disorder and it doesn't seem real because they don't look sick or they seem healthy, I'm here to say that the limitations that go with an autoimmune disorder, they're unpredictable. Your loved one is not choosing them. And I get that they don't look sick, which makes it seem like, okay, they must be being manipulative, they must be this, they must be that. Um, my hope is that as everybody takes some time to take a breath, have a little bit more compassion, have a little bit more grace for each other, that we're all able to try to figure this out and realize that none of us actually really are as reliable as we think we are. So hope that, again, with taking some time to pause, a little bit more grace, a little bit more compassion, because you don't know when you might be in the same position where your loved one is. So, but thank you for listening. I'm Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health counselor who's been diagnosed with autoimmune disorder. See you next time.